Welcome to another episode of Middle Ground with JLE L.L.C, where we treat you like family. That's the theme song, Detroit Love, off my first album, The JLE Experience. I own the music and copyright. Don't mute on Facebook. Have another great guest for you in this season 12. Had a lot of stuff on the page, had to write down. Should I say it all right?
Yes.
We have CEO, domestic violence survivor, turned thriver, provide preventative education and awareness, advocate for MST, PTSD, discrimination, domestic violence speaker, author, humanitarian, Domestic Violence LLC owner and founder, Yolanda Jones. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's my pleasure.
I appreciate you doing it.
Thank you.
First question, what led you to this path?
Oh, well. Honestly, I was 19 and I was a freshman in college. And at that point, I really didn't know exactly what I wanted to be career wise. But back then, it was more about, well, the number one title was a secretary.
Okay.
And I was like, I don't want to be a secretary. And my mom was like, well, you need to go to school and be a secretary because they get paid a whole lot of money. I was like, So I went ahead and I joined a local junior college. And that's where I met my children's father.
Okay.
He was, at that time, he had just been released or discharged from the Army. And he was a janitor at school.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't look down at that because the way I was raised by both sides of my family, you don't look down on anyone just because of their title. And I have always been, given that speech from Martin Luther King that my grandmother would always say, "You're going to be a sanitation worker, be the best sanitation worker there is." So I never looked down on anyone that did not have a college degree, So I was also like a cheerleader type. It was more like called a drill dance squad. And what we would do, because it was a junior college, me and the other girls, we would do a lot of dancing during halftime, during I think it was called back then the intramural type of basketball. Yeah, so we would do that because the school didn't have one because it was a junior college. So we made up one. And we would stay after school many a times, rehearsing and our moves and everything. And he will always come by sweeping and mopping and everything. And he will look, and I'm like, oh God, So I really wasn't interested in him. And but he kept coming around, and as soon as I make a move, and the main songs we would always dance to was his favorite, it was Prince.
Okay.
Remember what is that? Yeah, that. It was Prince Dove or something like that.
Oh, Dove's Cry?
Yes. So we will always do our little steps on that, and that was his favorite song. So whenever he heard it, he would come by.
See what's going on.
Yeah, that was giving him a reason to come. So that went on for, I would say, until semester was out. A few semesters was out. And then he eventually approached me and said, would you like to go out, for lunch? And the first thing I asked, are you paying? Because back then, I mean,
you straight to the point with it. I ain't mad at you.
You paying or I'm, picking up, But he picked up the bill. Our first place was Brandy's. You remember Brandy's?
Brandy's? I don't think I got here in Detroit.
I thought Brandy's were like everywhere. I would say they're known for their steak and gravy and mashed potatoes and green beans and stuff like that, and some delicious biscuit. Yeah. So that was our favorite place to always go. So we dated about a year. And then
Okay.
after a year that we dated, that's when I pretty much got pregnant. So I got pregnant at the age of 19.
Okay.
And one thing led to another, by me being a PK, you know what a PK is, right?
Preacher kid.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
So
want
by
to.
me, yeah. so,
Mm-hmm.
so because I was a PK, I had to do the right thing. And we went ahead and we went down to the Justice of Peace and we got married. Well, when my parents found out about that, they weren't too thrilled because they wanted an actual wedding.
Okay.
Well, the church that we were attending at the time did
Mm-hmm.
not want to wed us because we were unequally yoked.
Okay.
So we ended up, going to my hometown, which is New York. So we all went back to Brooklyn, New York, and my old pastor there, he went ahead and he had wed us.
Okay.
Um, After we were married, we came back to Texas, and then about 6 months, yeah, about 6 months. Um, that's when it happened. My son was about 14 months old, and he needed Pampers. And
Mm-hmm.
I asked him, I said, so and so needs some Pampers. He said, well, I'll go ahead and I'll go out there and get it. I
Okay.
said, okay. Mind you, I was still in school, even
Okay.
though I was, even though I was now married at age, um, by that time, I was 21 or 20,
Mm-hmm.
21 because my son was like around 14 months old. So I was already married, with a child and everything. He went out at 8:30. He did not return until about 12 or a little after 12 midnight. So, as any wife would ask, where have you been? And of course, I didn't say it like that. I was furious because during the time that he was gone, I had to gather dish towels,
Mm-hmm.
regular hand towels to wrap up the baby because we needed Pampers. And I learned that from my grandmother, who used to always say, yeah, when you were small, we didn't have Pampers. We had diapers. Anytime you poop, we had to go to the toilet. We had to dip it in, and then throw the diaper in the machine, So I learned
Mm-hmm.
that from that. So the first thing I did, I went and I grabbed some, kitchen towels and I wrapped them up, had two safety pins on one on each side,
Mm-hmm.
kept, urinating. So I'm like, oh man. I was down to the last towel, and that's when he walked in the door. And when I asked him, I said, where have you been? The baby needed a Pampers. And sure enough, he had a case, it was a 12 pack. That,
Mm-hmm.
see, what kind of beer was that? That was Bud Light, I think it was, Bud Light. He had a 6 pack. And he threw it down along with the box of Pampers. He just threw them down and he grabbed me by my shoulders right here and he just threw me on the couch and then he got on top of me and he started choking me. And he was choking me and choking me and choking me. And at that point, I didn't realize, that I was losing oxygen. I mean, well, I knew I was losing oxygen, but I didn't realize I was slowly dying, put it like that. Uh, and I didn't find this out until I was receiving therapy and they wanted to know about my background and I brought that up and I said yeah and I started seeing silver specks all in my eyes and everything and the therapist said you was dying, don't you realize you was dying? And I said no, I just thought I was just losing oxygen. I didn't realize
Mm-hmm.
that's how strangling someone is. They start
Mm-hmm.
seeing specks, like silver things going like this in their eyes because they are losing complete oxygen. And if he had continued on, I wouldn't be here today. But what I started doing, I started praying, saying, Lord, please get him off of me. Please have him to stop. I can't breathe. I can't breathe. I can't breathe. And all of a sudden, he just got up and he just walked away. He said, oh, I'm so sorry. I've never hit a woman before. and I don't know what came over me. Yeah, there's more to that story of what came over him. But that night I just laid. Normally we'll hug while we're sleeping,
Mm-hmm.
or we'll spoon or something like that. But I didn't want to do that. I mean, I slept with my back to him. Like I can't believe, because I was still in the total shock
Yeah.
because the whole time we were dating, he didn't do that. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, and if he raised his voice, it wasn't like angry type of voice. It was
Mm-hmm.
like, "Come on, Yolanda, come on, It wasn't any type of aggressive type of anything. And he always let me have my way, you know. So I'm like, oh, this is a keeper here, I can, no, it's serious.
I
I'm being
understand.
keeping it 100. But like if he say something, what, I'm doing that. Like go somewhere with that, because he was from Chicago, I was from New York.
Mm-hmm.
So we had that. I thought we had that type of connection where we both was from, a hardcore city, state, or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
so he didn't take anything by that, when I would get smart with him, but it was more or less like, I want you to know I'm not someone that you can control, because I
Mm-hmm.
come from a line of strong Black women in my family, on my mother's side, that is, not on my father's side. On my
Gotcha.
father's side, it's a total different type of lesson. Their lesson is, you must have done something to your husband for your husband to do that to you. That's how they were on my
Oh wow.
paternal side. So so I saw my aunts and my uncles' wives
Mm-hmm.
being pulled by them. Come on, woman, and and I'm like, and that was when I was little. But my grandmother always said, "You must have did something to your husband," and that's what she would tell my aunts.
Yeah.
But on my mother's side,
You ain't do
My
nothing.
aunts would,
You come
my
wrong with it.
aunts, my aunts would go back and forth. You can't do that on my mother's side.
Keep your hands to
Uh,
yourself.
exactly. Keep your hands to yourself. So that's how it happened, and then eventually, at that time, I was working at Parkland too. I was a insurance agent, and I process commercial as well as secondary insurance and like Medicare and Medicaid and stuff like that. So I worked in the billing department. And at that time, I was with Parkland for like 2 years. That was an
Mm-hmm.
awesome job that I had. That was back in in the late 80s. Yeah, it was a good
Nice money.
job. They had,
That was
I remember
cheaper.
when they, I remember when they first had McDonald's come in. Ooh,
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't wait to get to work to stop at the McDonald's and give me a chicken biscuit and some coffee, and then go on into to work. But yeah,
Mm-hmm.
at that time he was still working at the junior college, which was Mountain View, and he drank a lot, and I didn't know that until, I mean, when we were dating, he would drink every now and then. It wasn't like it was all the time, but as
Mm-hmm.
soon as we got married,
The
it
real him
was as
showed
if
up.
it was as if he had to have a can of beer every morning before he went to work.
Oh wow.
And I already knew about alcoholics because my paternal family
Mm-hmm.
were alcoholics, and a lot of them passed away because of cirrhosis of the liver. So I'm like, why are you drinking a can of beer? I'm asking him, why are you drinking a can of beer in the morning? He said, that's what I do. I blank, shower, and shave. I was like, oh, okay. He said, that's how we used to do it in the military. I was like, oh, okay. And by that, and see, at that time, I wasn't in the military. I was like, oh, okay. He said, yeah. And then they just started progressing even more and more. He would drink more. It would start out in a can, and then it went to a bottle, and then But what was the secret behind our marriage after that 6 months? And what caused him to just flip, go to a different person? He was using. I didn't know. I didn't know anything about drugs. I didn't know anything about cocaine. I didn't. The only thing I knew about was weed. We called it
Okay.
weed, ganja, marijuana.
Yep.
We had all kinds of names. Because we smelled it when we were on the bus on a city bus going to school, and folks that would smoke that, they be in the back doing like this
Dang. Even
early
back
in the
then, they were
morning.
doing
So
it.
by the
Right.
time we got off the bus, it was as if we had already contact. So I already knew about weed. And back then it wasn't as laced as it is now. But yeah, I knew
Mhm.
about that. I didn't know about cocaine. And then crack didn't come on the scene until when? Like late,
Yeah,
I would
like
say like
like
the 90s, late
about
80s,
late 80s,
90s.
like about
Yeah.
84,
So
somewhere around
right. Right. And I've never done drugs. Never. So but I always smelled weed. I know what weed smell like. You know,
there.
I know what a cigar. I know what a cigar smell like.
Hmm.
But as for all that other stuff, no, I didn't know. So fast forward, he moved us out of Texas and moved us to Illinois, where his parents were,
Mm.
because he was in a real bad accident after he got fired from his job at the college. He got fired because he kept arguing with his supervisor, and his supervisor kept calling me saying, Miss Stewart, can you please talk to your husband because he's doing, he's coming to work and he's drunk, and I don't want to fire him. I said, well,
Mhm.
I don't know what I can do. And this was before he, no, matter of fact, this was right after he had did that. So because his supervisor called me, I didn't want no trouble. I didn't want him to knock on my head by confronting him about, that. So I said, why are you calling me? Why don't you just talk to him? He said, well, I tried talking to him, but you know how he is. He kind of hard head. I'm like, okay. So when
Mhm.
he came home, I didn't want to approach him right away.
Mhm.
I waited until he came in and he showered and he got his beer, and he sat down, and I said, your supervisor called today, and he was saying that you came to work, with some alcohol on your breath, and he don't want to fire you. I said, and then he just went off. Well, he don't need to be calling you. He can, talk to me, man to man. I was like, oh, okay, I'm just letting you know what he said, and I just went in the room real quick because
Mhm.
I didn't know what to expect after that point. So again, when he decided he wanted to go move to Illinois with his family because he had left he got fired from the community college, and then he always wanted to be an 18-wheel over the road truck driver. So he did that, but he apparently, again, he was on under the influence because apparently he had a head on with another 18-wheeler. So
Ooh.
now he's on workman's comp until they can really complete the investigation. When they completed the investigation, they discovered he had some substance in his system, and that's what caused the two 18-wheelers to crash into each other or collide. So we moved to Illinois because he didn't have any job. I didn't have a job because he pulled me from Parkland. I had a good job. And we moved there because his mother said, oh, I have a beautiful house for you guys and all of this stuff and
Wow.
everything. Well, when we got there, it was such a beautiful house, but it was a barn, a barn. It was not a house.
Oh
When I
wow.
say barn, I'm not exaggerating. A
Interesting.
barn where you have
Yeah.
hay in it. It
Yeah.
was a barn.
Wow.
Okay, so it was nothing. It had no dry walls, nothing. So because I'm from New York and I learned a lot of traits from my grandparents and my aunts and everything, I took nothing and turned it into something. I turned it into a home. It didn't have anything. So we had to go and, get furniture from the thrift place, to make it a
Hmm.
home, whatever. And fast forward, he started hanging out with his cousins in Chicago. He would always drive out to Chicago. You need to be looking for a job, but you hanging out with your cousins and your uncles in Chicago.
Mm.
Chicago I mean, you heading out to Chicago with no job. There's nothing out there but trouble. He knew that,
Yeah.
but they were into it too, the drug thing or whatever.
Hmm.
So they came back one evening late, and it was in the afternoon, and I was on the couch, you know, studying, because by that time I had enrolled. No matter where I've been in my life, I'm in school. I'm trying to complete that associate degree. And it seemed like it was so hard to even get to that point
I
because it was
understand.
right, you know.
That
So
just happened. I understand.
yeah. So I'm sitting on the couch and I'm studying, and the kids, they were in the room. My son and my daughter, they were in the room playing. And all of a sudden, he and his uncle and his cousins all busted in the door, and his brother, and he was like, "Where's lunch?" I'm like, "Huh?" He was like, "You ain't make no sandwiches?" No, and he wouldn't say sandwiches. Chicago say sandwiches.
Mm-hmm.
Sandwiches. You ain't make no sandwiches. And I'm like, "What?" I said, "I'm studying. Why don't you go in the kitchen and make you a sandwich?" Why did I say that?
Oh,
That
no.
was the second time he put his hands on me. But by that time, that was the last time. Okay.
Okay.
First time, shame on you. Second time, shame on me.
Yeah.
So that was the last time that he put his hand on me, because what he did, he threw down the bread, and I'm on the couch and I got my books and I'm just reading. And he comes and smacked my books out my hand. They fly on the floor. He threw me on the floor this time. He grabbed me by my ankles and dragged me from my living room into the sunroom, opened the door, and here I am fighting with him like, "No, you ain't, this time because you hit me not you hit me, but you strangled me the first time. You ain't gonna, do
You'll
that
be the
shit
easy win
again."
this time.
So I'm fighting this time. I'm fighting him, and I'm fighting him,
Mm-hmm.
and all that fighting, my shirt or my blouse came off. So he ended up getting me out the door, and then he locked the door behind me. Well, I'm standing out there. During this time, it was winter because I remember the snow. It was snowing,
Oh
and it was
no.
a lot of snow out there, and it's freezing. And I'm standing on the steps with just my bra and jeans on, and I'm banging on the door. "Let me in! Let me in! Let me in!" And he was like, "No, no, no, you ain't coming in here." And the kids, they was crying and everything. So we had like a crate. You remember those crates that the milks would come
Yeah.
in? Well, we had the crates on the side of the house. So I climbed up there, and the window was open. So I was trying to push the window open and climb through. By the time I was able to even get it up to get ready to go over, that's when he came and he heard me, and he slammed the window closed, and he got my finger. So
Ah.
so I was like, "Ah!" And then he lifted up and close it back down, and I'm like, "Let me in." And I'm just standing there looking through the window, looking at my kids crying. They're coming out the room. "Mommy, stop it, Daddy, stop it, Daddy." And he going, "Get your axes or
Mm-hmm.
whatever, or, in the room." And I'm like, "Why are you doing this? Why are you doing this?" But he would not let me in. So I just sat on the stoop, like just freezing. The cars going by and everything.
Wow.
I'm just freezing, and I just waited until he opened the door. And then when he opened the door, he said, "Have you learned anything yet?" I said, "Yeah."
Wow.
I just went along with him. I just went along with it because I wanted to get inside. I wanted to be with my babies. And so I finally got inside, and I, act as if nothing ever happened. Nothing ever happened. I went in the kitchen, prepared him a sandwich, did everything, and then, I put the kids to bed and everything, and I went to bed. That next morning, I was supposed to then getting up and going to school. He thought I was going to school. So what I did was that I walked down to a back then telephone,
Mm-hmm.
the ones on the corner. I walked down there, and I called the domestic violence, and they told me exactly what to do, and I followed it. So they said, "Today, don't do anything. Just, act as if everything's okay." And I said, "Well, that's what I've been doing." So the next day when he was out, I went ahead and I had those huge suitcases that back in the day grandma used
Oh,
to
yeah, real
carry,
big
them
one.
big suitcases. Yeah, I had two of them. So I packed up everything. They told me only pack one toy for the kids, their favorite toy. Don't pack a lot of clothes because we'll give you everything that you need. And
Mhm.
and they did. So, and they told me take the kids to the police station, have the police escort you back to the house. And I did everything that they told me to do. So when we went back to the house, got two police cars and three officers. One was standing with me, walking me into the house, while the other one was standing in front of him, like blocking him. And he was like, "What's going on? What's going on?" And he was trying to come at me. "What's going?" And the officer said, "I don't think you want to do that, sir. Go on and get back. Go on and get back." So, so I was able to go inside, and the officer came out with two big suitcases, and my ex-husband was like, "What? Where that come from?" And I said it was underneath the bed, but since you don't clean, you didn't see it. And then I just walked downstairs with the officer, and we got in the vehicle. Um, and then that's how our life just, spanned out. We jumped, well, not jumped. We went from domestic violence shelter to domestic violence shelter because you can only stay at them for a certain period of time. And ours were like 9 weeks or something like that. Then we had to go on to another one. So fast forward after that, I eventually got a divorce and I came back to Texas. And then one of my, no, during that time that I was with him, prior to all of that, I did join the National Guards. I wanted to join active duty as a way to get away from him, but what they told me that I would have to leave the kids with him while I get stationed, like in Korea or Germany, and I didn't want that. So I just did the National Guards, and then after that, I transferred to the Army Reserve, and then after that, since I was in the Army Reserve, I moved back to Texas once I got my divorce, and I attached to another reserve center. Fast forward with that is that one of the males at a previous reserve center heard about what was going on, and it was more or less like a marriage of convenience because he said, I'll marry you and I'll take care of your kids and this and that, and if you want to go to school, you can go to school full time. Well, that's what happened. I went to school full time. I ended up moving to North Carolina. I went to school full time, and I actually received my associates and my bachelor's. And then that marriage turned into verbal abuse because it got to the point where his mother was always in our marriage. She had the key to our house. And when I questioned why did she have the key to our house, he would tell me, well, mama's always been there. She likes to come in and clean the house for me. I said, but you got a wife now, okay? So I saw the same. It was like, okay, I'm not gonna, so we kept arguing a lot. It never went physical, but he would call me stupid. I would call him stupid. And I was like, okay, this ain't going to happen no second time. So I enrolled my son. He was 14 at the time. I enrolled my son, myself, and my daughter, who was 10 at the time. We all enrolled in Taekwondo. I said, because this ain't going to happen a second time. I said, either he's going to get a good beat down or we all going to jail and y'all going to juvie. But it ain't going to happen like this again.
I got you.
I was determined it wasn't going to happen. So fast forward, we ended up getting a divorce because I got tired of the arguing because every time when I looked at him, I just felt sick on my stomach. I'm like, you know what? We're just going to get out this marriage too. I ain't for this. So yes, I've been married twice, and guess what? I ain't getting married again. No way, no how. No how. So, but when I went to how I got domestic violence is that when I got deployed to Iraq, there was a sergeant first class who was abusing another female who was a E6, a staff sergeant. They both were married at the time, but she wanted to end that relationship and he wouldn't let her. And while we was over in Iraq, he pretty much beat her. And that triggered that in me because she came to my tent one night because I was attached to an all-male platoon. So because I was attached to an all-male platoon, I had my own separate quarters while I was in Iraq. She would come and she came and she knocked on my door. It was like 12 midnight. And even though she was dark skinned, she was your complexion, but even though she was your complexion, you could still see a huge bruise on her face. It was that bad. So he had to have just. So I said, so what happened? And she said, I told him that I didn't want to be with him no more, but he told me that if he can't have me, nobody can have me. I said, oh no. So that triggered something in me. And I said, okay, no problem. She said, well, please, Sergeant Jones, don't tell nobody, please. I said, sure, I won't tell nobody. It'll be between you and I. But the next morning, I went straight to a chaplain. He was the chaplain for First Cav Division. And I told the chaplain what happened. I said, I can't hold this in. She wants me to, make a promise, but this is a promise I can't keep because I'm getting flashbacks to what happened to me. And
Yeah.
by the time I left that chapel to get back to my to my area, word got back to my commanding officers, and they were furious with me because I made them look bad. But that's another time about
Yes.
that. But yeah, so when I came home, I said, you know what? I need to write about what happened over there in Iraq because a lot happened. But every time I try to put pen to paper, it I just start bawling and just start crying, thinking about my past marriages and
Mm-hmm.
all of that, and then thinking about her, like this shouldn't be going on. So I didn't write my first book until 6 years after that. I was ready to put pen to paper, and then I wrote about it in the book called Starved and Not Broken, and I share a bit about my domestic violence, which is well, basically, which is why it pretty much triggered me. Um, and and from that point on, I thought about, well, how can I pay it forward? How can I pay it forward? Give back to the community because it was on my heart. And I'm like, Lord, I want
Mm-hmm.
to be able to give back. And I've done the volunteer for the domestic violence. I've done working at domestic violence agencies, but that
Great
wasn't
champion.
fulfilling me. I wanted to do more. And that's when, guys, like, you know what? That's your mission. And so what I did was that I developed or shall I say, I held a gala, my first gala, and it was for 50 people, but two people showed up. So I
Mm-hmm.
ended up with 52 people.
Okay.
And I borrowed my uncle's chef, who was an instructor from Quarter Blue School. You remember
Mm-hmm.
that school? Okay, well, they shut down here in Texas. So I borrowed her, and it was a blast. I mean, everyone loved it. They said, "Girl, you should do this all the time." I was like, "Really? You sure?" I thought they were just filling my head. I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
"You sure?" So I did. I did it a second year, then a third year, and then a fourth. So for the first 5 years, I paid out of my own pocket. I funded everything. I paid for the chef. I paid for the entertainment. I flew in speakers from other states to come in and speak. I paid for event coordinator. I paid for everything for the first 5 years until I filed my income taxes. And my CPA said, Yolanda, I can see you doing this 1 or 2 times, maybe three, but you've been doing this for 5 years now. You need to. This is more of a business. You need to turn this into a business. I'm like, are you sure? I said, I
Mm-hmm.
don't know. So, and that's what I did, the Domestic Violence Inc., but then I
LLC.
changed it to Domestic Violence LLC, and that's how we evolved.
Now, what services do you offer?
The services that we offer is that I host yearly events, and at that for the first, let me see, 9.5 years, that's all I did was just host yearly events and choose a recipient every year to donate 25% of the proceeds to.
Okay.
The first one was Brighter Tomorrows. The second one, I believe, was Safe Haven, and then it was about at least about 9 of them.
Okay.
So, and then we didn't do none during COVID. But now I'm doing something extra. I'm doing the educational awareness through a webinar now. So I have
Ooh.
three of those that are coming up. One is coming up next week. That one sold out like within 3 hours when I released it. It sold out in 3 hours, and it was free. But I only set it for a certain amount because I didn't want to set it for 50 only, but two people show up. So I did it for 25, and 25 actually, signed up,
Mhm.
and 36 people were upset. So yeah, but I have another one coming up on the 29th.
Okay. Now, as you being a survivor, that help you like get a vibe about someone like they might kind of like they going through what I've been through. It helps you relate to them.
And that's the thing, yes. Because a matter of fact, I watched a sex trafficking last night with one of the LinkedIn um, personnel.
Okay.
And today I was visiting another domestic violence agency to attend one of their meetings or agent things. It was
Mm-hmm.
and I went into the gas station at QT. It was in Gainesville. And I went into the QT, and just like what she mentioned on that video of what her daughter went through being kidnapped and sex trafficked, I felt like this young lady was actually, having a similar situation. And how I say that, normally when you see families, they look like a family, they act
Mm-hmm.
like a family. But these, the husband whispered something in her ear, and then she told me, "Oh, okay, go ahead in front of me." You know how when someone fakes a smile, that's what she had done. And the children did not appear to be children. It was, how shall I, oh my goodness, they were very stoic, shall I say. The children
Okay.
were not like, "Mom, Dad, I want this." They was like, as if this is what they were supposed to do, just stand still. And I was going to speak to her, but he was like up on her pretty much, like
Okay.
watching her every move. And because I'm like, how many families bring the entire family into the gas station unless they go into the bathroom, and they didn't even go to the
Yeah,
bathroom.
that's kind of different.
So I'm like, it was as if he was trying to keep his eyes on everything. And I was like, I wonder if this is it. So now I'm on alert, more alert now when
Okay.
it comes to sex trafficking. Even if an individual is going through domestic violence,
Mm-hmm.
I'm able to now pick up. It's like my sense go, "Do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do,"
Got you.
and I'm able to pick up and try to help in any way or any capacity that I can. So yeah.
Now, you know Freddie McDonald? He was,
Oh yeah, I
he
know
was upset.
Fred.
He was,
He's a former coworker of
okay.
mine. He's a former
Shout out
coworker
to
of
him
mine
for
because
tuning in.
yeah, because I told everyone, I said 7 o'clock, 7 o'clock. And then I'm like, okay, I forgot he's in Detroit and he's like 1 hour ahead, ahead. So I'm like, I can't get these Central and Eastern. It's just, I tell you, I always have to rely on Google. Google, if I go here at 9 a.m. and I need to be in California at such and such, what time would I? I'm serious. I do that.
Oh no.
Google. Yes, I have to rely on Google now.
Now we
So
figure it
much
out.
has changed.
We figure it out. Now, what's been a response from your books you put out?
Excuse me?
What has been a response from your book?
Oh, when I first published my first one, I
Mm-hmm.
had some good responses. I had one. It was a lady I met on a plane.
Mm-hmm.
And I told her, that what I, did. At that time I was just coming back from Iraq and all that stuff, and I was heading back home to Texas. And she sat next to me, and we started talking. And I told her, yes, I want to write a book. And she said, oh, okay. Well, here's my number, and here's my Facebook, this and that. I said, okay. She said, be sure to reach out to me once you, publish a book. So I did. And of course, she had to be my biggest critic, my biggest, because she actually was a writer herself. That's okay. She was a writer herself, and she was straightforward. She said, this was a very enlightening book. You could tell that it was from a novice, and all that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, yeah, that was my first book. So I was a novice. So when I connected with her, I said, oh yeah, you didn't hold nothing back, did you? Yeah, I mean, yeah, let everybody know. I was a novice with that first one, but that's okay, because I got a second and a third and a fourth and a fifth. But
Okay.
even that did not pan out the way I wanted, because I wanted to write a help book every year. I wanted to like constantly come, constantly, constantly.
Okay.
But after the third one, it's like life experiences, life happens. So I hadn't written a book since my last one, which was Silent Victims. Domestic Violence Does Not Discriminate. That was my last one. And I wrote that around 2016. So that was my
Okay.
last one.
Now, writing books is
Huh?
it's definitely different than writing a song because
Exactly,
after you
exactly.
do
But
it, you reflect like, oh wow, I put all that down in the words.
yes, Yes,
How will it be
exactly.
received? And then if someone bite and get feedback, you're like, wow, well, they got what I was trying to put down when I did it. Okay, cool.
Exactly. 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 Because I love to write. I mean, I love to write more than I like to talk, really.
Okay.
Um, if you give me a topic, I mean, I can write for days until you tell me, okay, stop. I'm serious. I just love to write. It's like I have
Okay.
so much to say. You know, I
I
do.
understand. You experienced a lot.
Yeah.
And
Hmm.
you're doing that to help others, which is awesome because
Yes. Yes.
some
Definitely.
people unfortunately don't make it out of those situations.
I know. And that was one of my biggest things because when I was going through mines with my children's father, I actually contemplated burning him while he was in the bed, like Farrah Fawcett in that
Oh yeah,
movie.
I saw that movie as a kid. Like,
Yeah,
whoa,
yeah, I was going to burn him in bed.
oh, okay. You gotta
Because I
know.
saw that when I was about 10 years old. I had saw that with my aunts one night. We stayed up and we watched it. And I was like, you know what? Ooh, I want to burn him. You know, and it came to my head. I was going to pour gasoline all on the bed and everything. And, you know, but then I thought about it. I said, I can't do that. Because
Mm.
back then, those women didn't have good resources that we have now.
No,
And
yeah, it's kind of bad.
right, right,
They have
exactly.
more options like now if they was in that situation.
Exactly. So if I had done something like that, that would be considered premeditated murder,
Hmm.
first degree, automatically. So I was like, no, I can't do that. I can't do that. I cannot do that because I don't want my children growing up having to visit me in prison. So I
Hmm.
said, he's not worth it. My life is more important because I have bigger, better things that I want to do with me and my kids. So I chose not to do that. But yeah, and that's what I wrote about in my book. Yeah, I was contemplating
Now,
it.
do you think his military service affected him, led to the drinking and drugs? Was it so?
Uh, no, no,
Okay.
no. It's all about choice. It's all about choice and the company that you align yourself with. So if you align yourself with people that are going nowhere, that's how you're going to end up. You're
True.
going nowhere. And
True.
even the most brilliant, intelligent person who have always, walked on a straight and everything, even they can fall by aligning themselves with the wrong people.
True.
Eventually, it will happen. I've heard people say, no, 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 because I'm too strong for that. I won't do drugs just because my friends do drugs.
You
That,
keep doing
that's
money.
a bunch of bull crap. That's a bunch of bull crap because if you hang around people all the time doing drugs, trust me, you're going to try. And when you try, you may even like it, and then you're going to do it again and again. And you're going to say, oh,
Mhm.
I can stop, oh, I can stop. And then all of a sudden, you go into something even higher. So, no. Now it's all about who you align yourself with, and he
That's
happened
true.
to align himself with the a actual drug dealer. Simple as that.
You're right about that. Now
Yeah,
we reached the part of the show where you promote market what you got going on and coming up.
I have coming up is in on Wednesday, April 10th. I have the domestic violence does not discriminate. How do you go from survivor to thriver? And that's at 7 o'clock. But that has sold out. So those who have already reserved their tickets and their space, they will be attending that. However, that is a three part series. So that's part one.
Okay.
Part two will be held on the 29th, and that will be I've left my abuser. Why do I still feel stuck? I don't know what to do. And that one will be on again Monday, April 29th, and that's still on sale right now. When it says sale, it doesn't mean like it costs $50 or $100. It means it's a donation. So whether you donate $1 or donate $5 or whatever is placed on your heart to donate, that is what you donate. And that will allow you to reserve a ticket to attend that second part. With that second part, it's going to be a second and a third mixed with that
Hmm.
because I realized that graduation will be coming up in May. So, because graduation is coming up in May, a lot of people will be attending graduations. And then in June and July is usually when a lot of families take vacations. A lot of teachers are out and they taking vacations. So I didn't want to hold anything during the months of June and July. So April 29th will cover part 2 and part 3, and then nothing else until August. And then in August, and then I have that it's called um, Domestic Violence Basic Boot Camp. It's an 8-week online course. And what that covers is, example, when you first start dating or when you first want to date, okay, where are you going to go and look to date? Are you going to do it the old fashioned way? Just bump into somebody, excuse me, do it the old fashioned way? Or are you going to go on an app and look for someone? Or you're going to, meet someone through a family member or a friend. Okay, we're going to cover that. And then what are the pros and cons of each one? What are the pros and cons of meeting someone on a online app? What is the pros and cons of meeting someone in the church? Well, I've been on, all of that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All of it.
Right. So the pros and cons. And then like the second week, we'll cover another part. Okay. Now that you met this person, where you guys gonna go on your first date? What you gonna do? Who's gonna pay for it? And what are you guys talking about? Are you asking? Are you married? Do you have children? How's your relationship with your mom? How's your relationship with your siblings? All of that. These are a lot of questions that we don't tend to ask, when we first meet someone until it's too late. And we find out that he's like the old lady in the shoe with a whole bunch of kids, we just don't know, so it's good to ask questions. It's good to ask questions. You don't want somebody like the old lady in the shoe with 7, 8 kids. You find this out
lady in the shoe.
Because, come on now. And then you have to talk. Okay, well, do you want kids, or do you want kids? And if one don't want kids, but the other one, hey, that's letting you know something. Switch to the left, So a lot of times we don't ask questions when we first meet someone, and I really believe that had I asked more questions with my children's father, I don't believe that I would have ended up with him if I would have probed a little bit more and asked questions about his military life and what type of people do you like hanging around with and all. I didn't ask any of that. I didn't. And we were like oil and water. Eventually, we were oil and water, and I did not notice. I thought we was like,
jelly.
But we weren't until 6 months later, and I found out we was pretty much oil and water all this time. But that was because I didn't ask questions. I'm not saying it was my fault that what happened to me happened to me. No, I'm just saying it was, I take some responsibility of not doing my due diligence by asking those pertinent, questions when you're dating someone.
You gotta ask them real questions.
Yes.
Everything on the table, good, bad, and ugly.
Exactly.
What's what?
Exactly.
People have a representative that you hang around till they get comfortable.
Exactly. I want to know. Yeah, I want to know what kind of friends you hang out with. Well, I hang out with friends that we like to hang out and talk. That ain't my type now. At least I know now. I know now. I mean, I've been through a lot. And I've learned a lot. I've been through child abuse with my paternal family. I've been through, spousal abuse. I've been through a lot. So now, you can't put a wool over my eyes now because I'm gonna see right through you. So
now, what has been your biggest challenge on this journey?
On this journey, my biggest challenge. Just 2 weeks ago, I really got depressed. I really got depressed because I started, I was doing some searching, trying to connect with a lot of domestic violence, agencies who were actually survivors. And then I came across a lot of domestic violence agencies that were just popping up like wildflowers. And that was really challenging to me because I'm like, okay, now this agency, they just started and they're not only are they providing services like all the other domestic violence um, you know, agencies, but now they're doing yearly events when they never did yearly events, and I'm like, now why is it that? So I felt like it's like domestic violence right now is in a competition, and that's what I told my marketing
Mm.
mentor. I said, you know what? I'm in it because I want to help someone. I said there are so many 501(c)s and private, domestic violence agency popping up, and it makes me okay. Why are you in this now? Are you a
Mhm.
survivor? And I've come across a lot of them are not survivors. They don't even have a family member or a friend that are survivors, but they just want to help. I get that. I get that. But during the time when I was working and volunteering at a particular domestic violence agency, donations were coming in. Okay. And I'm thinking, okay, this is great. Donations are coming in, people donating, but those donations was going out the door with the director and employees. Okay.
Oh, wow.
So that's been challenging for me because I feel like they're taking away from individuals and families that need these donations that come into these large facilities or these new domestic violence facilities. So yeah, that's been really challenging because I'm like, okay, well, do I got to step up my game to
Mhm.
provide my survivors a little bit more? Do I need to do this? Do I need to do that? So I was really struggling. I'm like, okay, do I just need to just step back and let all of these other domestic violence agencies do what they do? You know,
Yeah.
because I was told by my mentor, well, have you thought about wanting to partner with another agency? I said, what for? So we all can just collapse? No, no, because there's some that don't pay the taxes. I don't want to collapse when they collapse. No, I'm not partnering with anybody.
Yeah, yeah,
No.
you gotta be careful who you work with.
Yeah, you gotta be really careful. So
Hmm.
yeah, but so that's what led me to start doing the webinar because I said, you know what, I gotta step it up and do a little bit more for my community. And don't worry about what everybody else is doing. I need to be doing this for my community and my survivors, my victims, and families because
Yeah.
anybody who know me in the business realm or in the personal realm, I have a soft spot for children, the elderly, and animals. Okay. So when you abuse them, it hurts me to the core as if I know the individuals because
Hmm.
I've been there. I've been abused as a child. I know what it feels like. So it bothers me. It really oh yeah, it bothers me, So yeah, I try to do a little bit more so that I can help those type of individuals that have been abused.
Okay. In your words, what has been your impact in the community?
In my words, what has been my impact in the community?
Hmm.
Um, when I host those yearly events during COVID, there were a lot of agencies. Matter of fact, a lot of domestic violence agencies that were not receiving enough of revenue, and a lot of them had to actually close down or merge with another agency. And by the grace of God, I was able to continue, even though I didn't host any events during COVID, but
Hmm.
I still was searching and looking for a recipient associated with a agency that had a great mission that was still doing something. And
Hmm.
I continue to send money, even though I had not received any donations during COVID. I didn't receive any type of sponsorship. I used my own money, and I sent, that recipient, X amount of dollars, and I, let all my guests know via email and Facebook and so forth. So and so has been chosen as a recipient, and donation has been released. So yeah, that has been my greatest impact, regardless of what is going on in the community, whether there's a COVID pandemic or
Hmm.
earthquake or whatever. I'm gonna find a way to get some money to a domestic violence shelter. That is my way
Awesome.
to pay it forward.
Okay. And last question, that Yoda game. What made you relax, comfortable to be reflective? What advice do you have for someone trying to find their purpose?
Oh, What advice do I have for someone who's trying to find their purpose?
Mm-hmm.
Do some. The advice I would give that person would be some self reflection. Look within yourself and see, is there anything within you that needs to be corrected, adjusted, or removed. And I don't know how their religion or their how shall I say, their relationship is with God, but I place God before anything in my life, so
Mm-hmm.
I would at least present that to them, and say, hey, look, God is the answer. I mean, He's been the answer for everything, because there's been many times I asked God, look, I'm tired, take me out. I've actually asked that several times, because I get to a point where I get triggered from flashbacks from Iraq, or even here, if people say certain things that trigger me or something
Mm-hmm.
like that, I get triggered, and I just like, you know what, God, no, just take me. I'm tired of the stresses of this world. I'm tired of the hate this is in this world. I'm just tired, just take me out. And when I was over in Iraq, people called me Nine Lives, because every time I turn around, every time I ask God, look, take me out. He's like, no, I have a mission for you. I have a
Mm-hmm.
mission for you, and you got a story to tell. And
You
you're
do.
staying until your story is out there. So yeah,
Hey,
but
I tell
I've
people in high school,
accepted that I'm here for a reason.
and we both here for a reason.
Yes, definitely. We
We
all
didn't hear
are.
that before.
We all are, but we just have to know what is our purpose,
Mm-hmm.
and my purpose is doing what I'm doing, because this didn't happen overnight. And I'm in October will be 10 years. I never
Hey,
expected 10 years. I never expected for it to go past one, because it was
yeah,
just something
that's
to
a
pay it forward. And it turned into,
congratulations for real.
yes, so, by the grace of God, yes, we are approaching 10 years in October, and that's a great feeling.
That's
Great feeling.
accomplishment for
Yeah.
real.
And still don't have any donors or
They coming.
sponsors, but we still manage,
They
by the
coming.
grace
I'm
of
in agreement
God.
with you. They coming.
Yes, so hey, when you're doing something for God, it's like, okay, don't worry about it. It's
Mm-hmm.
coming. It's coming. Just don't worry about it. So
Absolutely. I've had those thoughts like, okay, you want me to do this? I need a little bit of cheddar cheese up in here.
yes.
I want
Mhm.
Haynes to come like you say I'm cook around here. Come on, man. We're gonna give you that thumbs up like he's about to jump off down.
Yeah, exactly.
Keep doing the work because it's all part of the
Exactly.
process.
Exactly. But I have some good people that I work with.
Mm,
I contract with all the time. They're with me. They've been with me from the very beginning. Like my chef is one for sure.
awesome.
And I mean, she knows. I give her a date. She go, I'm on it, Yolanda. So and I give her what type
Nice.
of meal that I want our guests to eat that year. She have it for me. But yeah, I have, let's just say God placed the right people in my life for
Mm-hmm.
this mission here. Because I would not be able to work with anyone who is very lackadaisical
Mm-hmm.
or a procrastinator, because I tell everyone soon after my event is over, the next day when I wake up, I'm on the computer, I'm starting to work on next year's event. And I work on the event for a whole year. I don't like last minute anything.
I got you.
I have to plan. I'm a planner, so I have to plan things. Everything has to be dressed right, dressed as if I was in the military. It just have to be
Yeah, it
right.
works better for me when I do that compared to let's do
Mhm.
tomorrow. Let me do it now. I'm like, oh Lord, I did 2 weeks ago. I'm good. Okay, it's better. It worked better to be in order compared to last minute scrambling. That don't go good.
Exactly. Yeah. So, are you saying you're a procrastinator or not?
I have moments where I want to just, man, I want to be a Toys R Us kid. I don't want to do nothing. Leave me alone.
Toys R Us kid.
Toys R Us kid, give my GI Joes and Transformers, get out my way. But then that guy will come like, okay, you had 5 minutes. You back yet? Get back on the grind. Chop chop. The work ain't done. Like, all right, I'm back now. Back to grind mode, dealing with the ground stuff. Let's get it.
Oh no. I keep
You
saying
could have told me I'd be doing this, man. Nah, music, yeah, but this ministry, and I'm so dumb. I didn't realize God duped me into doing ministry with this. Like, man, look, my daddy was a pastor. I'm gonna tell you, go up the street on Finkel, hook your left on Myers, God right over there. But ministry, nah, bro. I don't like people. Danger, danger. And I got to talk to them. People don't know. Nah, not the kid. Nope. And I just realized, like, that sucker got me doing it. Really podcasting. I'll be darned. He gonna get his way. Right, laugh with my dad like your boy thought he got away from him. I'm smoother than a fox. Just look at him go.
Wow.
He thrived. Wow. Season 12 with this thing, 3 years. Like, wow. How about that? Now, how did you enjoy your experience on the show?
I love it. Because you had my girl on here last week or 2 weeks ago.
Oh yeah, the pure.
Yes. And so she reached out to me because she's now prepared to watch the what is that, the eclipse or whatever.
Okay.
She's gonna do that tonight, right? And she sent me a text message just before we came on, and she said, "He's good, you know. I mean, just relax. You know, he's gonna make you feel like, you know, family. You know, just relax."
A little bit of tagline.
You know, his questions are not hard or anything like that. And I was like, okay, you know. So
shout out to her, man. She's doing her thing.
Believe it or not, she was my vendor. She started out with me in the very beginning too.
Awesome.
Yes, and we've been together ever since. That's my girl.
See, I got straight middle ground in Texas for you, boy. Like, hey, go check that cat out on YouTube. He good people. Go rock with him. Subscribe to him. He got all types of stuff for you. You're gonna laugh with this. Now he crazy with his sports show.
Yes, you are, because
you definitely get the popcorn.
Yes,
and I know he's a PK kid, but you don't know he's a PK kid because he might say, "What the hell are you talking about?" I do not believe that about that athlete. Like, oh, okay, this is hilarious. And he's gonna get back serious with the last show, Ground Floor, talk about social stuff. But this the bread and butter will help someone find their purpose. So he's gonna eat a whole spectrum of entertaining.
Right.
Learn something.
Right. Yeah. Well, I appreciate it because you covered all the avenues, or all the areas that needed to be addressed, and I appreciate that. It was, I mean, like I said, I can go on and on, but
this your first
I have
podcast?
my books out there, so you know that's a great thing.
But it's your first podcast, or you done it?
Excuse me.
But it's your first podcast experience, or?
Oh no! I've had about four. I had four, so this makes number 5 or 6, I think. Yeah, so it's just been a while that I've been on a podcast. Because at the time I was working a full-time job and doing this on the side, but now
look at you blowing up.
I'm retired from that, so now I'm doing this full time. So, and I'm enjoying it because I met a lot of people on LinkedIn. Matter of fact, I have another conference call next Tuesday with someone else who, the individual, he have walked all the way to Washington. You know what I'm talking about? Dirk something. Oh my goodness.
I heard about that. Walk to Washington.
Yeah, he walked all the way to Washington in support of sex trafficking. And he reached out to me, wanted to connect, and he enjoys my story, which is my bio, and he wanted to connect and find out more about me and how I started, you know, basically like you. And, you know, because I told him that, well, I offered my services to him. And that's another thing. I do offer my services to speak at other agencies, events, or special activities and that nature. And so I always tell people just go ahead and book me. And it's on my LinkedIn bio also. If they're looking for someone to speak, in regards to domestic violence, any form of abuse, feel free to give me a call, text
Okay,
me, email me.
just got a God idea.
Right,
We
because
have
I'm
a
on
conference.
Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram. Yeah. Hmm.
Have to work on a conference for something for women with violence and all that type of stuff. Have a few speakers.
Oh, okay, that'd be great. That would really be great because I know you know a lot of the domestic violence survivors
Yeah.
and.
I- and I laugh because I only ever heard of LinkedIn because of a business class. And the teacher laughed at us like, so you got to go make a profile for LinkedIn. We're like, what's that? And she getting upset like, oh my God, you guys are business students. How you like, okay, again, what's that? It's the
Mhm.
business Facebook. Oh,
Yes,
I know they
yes,
have
it
that.
is. Uh-huh. Hmm.
Okay. That's all you
Because
had
I
to say.
learned about it back in, I would say, the late 90s. I heard about it in the late 90s when I had graduated with my bachelor's degree. And
Mm-hmm.
that's when the instructor encouraged the students to um, set up an account on LinkedIn. But back then, it wasn't like it is now. It's
Okay,
more
well,
informative now. There's a lot more
yeah.
professionals on here now uh, compared to 1998, 99.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
it's come a long way, very
Always got
long
to
way.
update too, let people know what you're doing is current. Because if
Yes,
they look at you like,
yes.
you ain't out here, you ain't about that life. You playing.
So, but I keep both of them, even though I was introduced back to LinkedIn. I had to reactivate my account or whatever because it was so
Okay.
long. I still keep my Facebook and my Instagram. I don't do much on those, but I still try to do a little something, respond to post something. But I'm on LinkedIn from the time I wake up in the morning to the time I go to bed at night, and sometimes I don't even go to bed until 4 or 5, 6 o'clock in the morning.
Man, I'm
And then
everywhere
when I
like
sleep,
coke.
I get back up and I'm back on the computer with LinkedIn because by that time I have about 9 or 10 posts,
Mm-hmm.
that I have to respond to. And so, yeah, I've been busy since I've been on LinkedIn. Very
Yeah,
busy.
I mean, I noticed once I started gaining more to add to my, when you look at the page
Yes,
now, you see, oh, he do woo, 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 woo. We got these
yes,
new connections. It's like, you reach out to me, like, huh?
yeah, yeah.
You know, how about that?
Mm-hmm. Yes,
Okay.
exactly. So I mean,
Yeah.
I've really connected with a lot of professionals, not only in domestic violence, but in all types of
Oh, yeah, it's all type of
areas.
that,
They'll
man.
just reach out and say, you know what, I've read your bio. I'm interested in knowing more about what you're doing and so forth. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, so I tell everybody my calendar stays full, and I tell my mother every now and then, she'll say, well, when you gonna do such and such or whatever. I need to do this and that, right? So I say, well, let me see if I can pencil you in. I just be messing with her.
Okay, Big Willie. I
Let me
feel
go ahead
you.
and pencil you in.
Let me get back to you on that. I
Yeah,
got you.
exactly.
I ain't mad
I
at you.
just like messing with my mother like that. She's like,
Right.
oh, so you busy now, huh?
Mm-hmm.
I'm like,
I definitely appreciate you sharing your story to help others.
hmm.
It's quite compelling, and you made it through on the other side. You're doing phenomenal stuff with the work you're doing.
Thank you.
Absolutely. How would you want to come to the platform and share? So
Thank
make
you.
sure I get all your stuff because I believe in first class treatment here. And we want to thank CEO, domestic violence survivor turned thriver, provide preventive education and awareness, advocate for MST, PTSD, discrimination, domestic violence speaker, author, and humanitarian, Domestic Violence LLC CEO and founder, Yolanda Jones, for sharing her story and doing a lot of amazing things out there in Texas.
Thank you. Thank you. It was
Appreciate
a
you.
pleasure. Thank you.
Hope you enjoy the rest of your weekend.
Yes,
And
I
one day we
will.
make it down to Texas, we're gonna chop it up.
Don't forget the eclipse too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely got time.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
It was
Have a
nice
good one.
talking to you. Bye
You
bye.
as well. Another great guest. Be sure to go to my YouTube page, subscribe and like Middle Ground with JLE L.L.C. Thanks to the 113 people that have done it so far. Working on merchandise, all other good stuff. Go Amazon, get books, music. Stay here for the journey. We're going to keep going. Enjoy the weekend, everybody.
Detroit raised me. Detroit.